Alex Answer here, June 2nd, 2016, coming to you from the forest of southwest Colorado. This is probably the fifth or sixth campsite that I've been at the last month or so here in this general part of North America. So I want to talk a little bit about how I handle loneliness. And we handle emotions, we handle feelings in different ways. Some of us have different levels of sensitivity. There are certain periods that I believe that we're more affected by our emotions. And I'm not the only person to see a connection with the sun, sunspot, solar flares, solar maximum, and periods where we have a deeper connection to our emotional side. Some could even say our reactive side. And I don't look at all things as exclusively positive or negative, so these could also be periods of more positivity if we're choosing to create that for ourselves. So loneliness is an emotion that arises in human beings. I would say in some human beings more so in some periods than other periods. You can also be lonely and be in a major city. You can be around people, of course, as you guys know this, and feel incredibly lonely. So I have always viewed the human being as being responsible for their own feelings. Even if we may see external factors and point the finger and highlight certain things, and I do commentate on world affairs, there's also that wiser spiritual side of my own consciousness that sees things from another perspective than my linear analytical reporter side. It is important to report on things. It's also important to be able to see a larger perspective beyond our own persuasion, be it political or life experience. So loneliness is something that we deal with differently, and I believe that, and I can see, let me go ahead and just film the walk here a little bit. I can see how a lot of people in our society are trapped to certain ways of life, major cities, certain towns, maybe staying in the same community that they've always lived in their whole life, maybe staying in a certain relationship that they've been in their whole life, because they fear. We're going to do a whole video about fear later. They fear loneliness. Some people fear the silence. Obviously, we've become a species that is very dependent on electricity and the grid and lights. So mankind, womankind, for various reasons, fears the darkness. So, to evolve as a soul, a human being has to overcome loneliness. And a human being, to catapult their own evolution, may partake in certain things that could alienate themselves, for example. Now I know when I first started doing the MGTOW videos back in Portland, it really struck a chord with a lot of people. And I believe that this term, MGTOW, is fairly obsolete, isn't exactly the right word. I feel like what I'm describing includes that, but it's really beyond that. And because the spiritual overtones, to my perspective, and the fact that I don't hate women, it turns off a lot of MGTOW people. And the women are just confused by it. They'll respond to the guy who's actually talking shit about him. Maybe you give him attention. Again, generally nice guys, finish last. My research and my opinions are just met with deafening silence. I did a video about female sexuality, and I do believe that it took a hit in the post-2012 time period. Something's going on biologically that is also influencing this divide. But it's also spiritually based and in relation to other celestial factors, the cycles of the sun. And those cycles greatly influence romantic energy, war energy, human trends. Anyway, right now is a fairly chaotic time, is what I'm getting at. And it's been a fairly chaotic time within our society. And especially with regards to relationships, knowing that the real Alex Hansery, although I'm different in some respects, we all are change in some regard, but I'm still Alex Hansery. And I know that Alex Hansery was far more attractive to regular people years ago than whatever it is I've evolved to. So have I become a bad person? Or has the commentary, in particular spiritually based and with regards to other things, is it the commentary that's taken kind of a deeper down the rabbit hole, less blaming the New World Order and more looking at ourselves, society, and relationships? What is a real man? What is a real woman? Take a look at some of these things that I've talked about in recent years as opposed to the content from the earlier years. Is it different? I think we all know the answer to that. And have I freed myself of certain material things? And especially this mentality of pleasing women or impressing women or looking like a superstar or a potential provider? Have I let those things go? I think we all know the answer to that. And yet when I look in my eyes, when I look at myself, I'm more attracted to the person that I am right now. And if we want to get literal, I feel like I'm far more secure now than ever on a monetary level, on a bank account level. In reality, I actually physically have more. You know, I don't go around bragging about that. I like having more because right now I want to see my reserve, a few $1,000s in savings, go to land. And if I don't get this land, I'm going to have a wonderful experience somewhere else. And I am visualizing myself building and even moving beyond the RV. But do the women of today's society look at me like I'm some kind of a bum or a moocher because of their programming? Yes, even on a subconscious level, even if they're not aware of that. They are so inundated with the programming of today's world, they don't even realize how controlled some of them are. Their consciousness, their minds, how enslaved they are. So, I deal with the loneliness, being a 36-year-old man, in different ways, and sometimes it gets better, and sometimes I can feel myself feeling those old emotions, and it really transcends relationships. We're talking about a sense of loneliness with regards to memories concerning family, concerning my mother, concerning my father, more so my mother. There's still pain there. There's still pain there with regards to what I see as being thrown away at an early age in the wastebasket, like a used tampon. Not too far away from an aborted fetus being flushed down the toilet, the energetic abortion, because of my lack of willingness to submit to someone else's philosophy, spirituality, control, rules, regulations, the archon within our parents, the inner archon. And I feel like for a human being to overcome such loneliness and really tap into their own power, this is the destiny of many of us on this planet, to experience trauma and hardship and not be molded by it and turn into a monster by it, but instead catapulted to a higher level of spirituality that we may not have known had we grown up in privilege or grown up with siblings or, lived a life where there's a significant other that we wake up to every morning, that we kiss and hug, say, I love you, would you like a cup of coffee? Some people take those experiences for granted. We're having our mother and father walk in and go, hey son, hey daughter, how are you today? Let's go to the park. So, I have a lot of experience being on my own from a very young age, which a future book will detail. And one doesn't automatically become Super Saiyan, spiritually strong, as a result of the experiences. I think outlook is really important. Somebody can become numb over time because they've been going through the shit for so long, it doesn't mean that they're actually healing. And my number one intention for this week is to heal from something. Heal from, and there's really a lot of different, like say, dots or images of trauma that we may embed within our own consciousness subconsciously and embed within our own body. So, the specifics of what we're healing from when we go into nature may not be clear, and you don't necessarily have to know that when you go out in nature to heal. But a lot of people are suffering from a sense of loneliness, and that's really just a surface level of what it is. It's important to live a life of gratitude first and foremost, to live a life without fear, to live a life where your happiness does not come from external things. Your happiness comes from within yourself. And one of the things that I've been trying to channel, and I don't mean in a new age sense, but redirect and channel with regards to my own energy. Think back to a period in your life, and maybe a song that maybe ignites something within your own heart. And for me, it's like, Sarah from Fleetwood Mac, or it's, Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd, or a number of other things that could literally trigger, a pool of tears, thinking about a memory, thinking about a parent, thinking about the good old days. And we want to be able to feel those feelings and not be engaged in a lifestyle of chain smoking and other things to where, we're trying to stuff those emotions. And sometimes a positive memory can trigger a sense of loneliness or sadness, because we can look at our lives right now and do a comparison and live in the past instead of the present. And I'm suggesting that we hold on to that positive emotion that we have that was sparked from that memory. And we understand the past, the only moment that is real is now, and we bring that frequency energy into our consciousness and into our lives in this moment that we're in this moment that you can hear my voice now, in this moment that I'm in right now. Hearing these songs of excitement, hearing these songs of romance, hearing these songs, and I'm using songs, I guess, interchangeably with memories because they are very much tied together. And some of us are very musical in the sense that, we have a very strong connection emotionally to certain songs that take us back to our childhood and take us back to our first love, and take us back to our memories of our parents, take us back to maybe a love of our home city, as I have certain songs that I associate with love of Portland, even though Portland and myself have obviously gone in different directions. Those memories are still there. Those memories still remain. So as I created those memories to begin with, taking a 70s song and associating it with Portland in the 90s or 2000s, we can take those same emotions and feelings and bring it into the present and apply it to the here and now. There's a lot of human beings out there that literally obsess on the golden years of our society being the 70s and 80s. And the reality is, those periods in time had more romance, in some ways had more freedom, in some ways there was more suppression. In some ways things were more limited. You couldn't go around in an RV in the 70s and 80s and communicate with an audience, holding a camera, charged by the sun, of course. Solar panels did exist. The internet as it exists now did not exist. It was a different form of internet at that time. So, the grass is greener on the other side mentality and way of looking at things is something that can maintain that sadness and loneliness. And we need to literally change the way our thinking is taking place. But getting back to loneliness with regards to romance, what I can say is a lot of people have spent a good chunk of their lives looking back at the past and not being the present and not being maybe grateful for the things that they have. And, while there are some obviously beautiful aspects of the human connection, male-female, female-male, that's all I can really speak of without being a homosexual. But there's something very romantic about two human beings coming together and sex actually manifesting in the form of love and not just lust, but genuine, which is rare. Lust is common. Let's do it, never talk to each other again. but a sense of actually loving the person that you're having sex with, caressing the person, the way you touch their hair, the way you kiss them, the way you look at them, the way you make love to them, that type of a thing. Yeah, there's a difference between love and lust. And you can love someone for who they are without committing to being in a long-term relationship. See, again, lust comes easy. A genuine connection of the energy bodies, a genuine connection of the souls, that's taboo in today's society. That's what people are afraid of. They rather have a whip and chain. They rather film some weird shit and put on the internet. They rather let their demons out, if you will, than actually let out their angel and connect with another angel. So, what I believe is the truth is that this is almost becoming epidemic. And if a man, or a woman for that matter, can't get their own loneliness under check in today's day and age, and realize that love transcends sexuality, and love between human beings, be it romantic or otherwise, should come more naturally than it is. So ultimately we have to learn to love ourselves in a world that wants to convince us that we have no value, in a world that at times wants to punish us through the loneliness trap. Feeling sorry for yourself because you're alone, instead of realizing, well, maybe there's something about some of us, our frequency, that's keeping people that want to stay at their level away from us. We may be desired to them physically. We may think that we're even attracted to them spiritually. But behind the veil, behind the mask of a beautiful face that our bodies may want to caress and kiss and be close to, behind the mask, a lot of these human beings in very attractive forms, there's something else that is not in favor of the love vibration, that is not in favor of consciousness. So we have to deal with our own loneliness as human beings, and realize that there's a part of ourselves that's based in physicality that's going to be lonely unless it's involved in mating or romance. And people are missing the point, though. They think that's all about producing children. There is something about romance and connecting with another human being, even in a non-sexual way, that has nothing to do with bringing children in this world. And I do see value in that. But I also see value in the man and the woman, but I'm speaking as a man, that is more powerful than their own senses. That is more powerful than, for example, the mind control that may come at them. Oh, you're lonely, therefore you need to self-destruct, hurt yourself and hurt others. Instead of realizing that it's through the pain that we can find the way home, which is the name of a blog that I wrote years ago, and you can find it at alexansary.tv right now. And there's a lot of points that I make in that blog that I can continue to talk about and make here. But as I close, it is through the self-discipline of going our own way, and we're talking way beyond this term MGTOW. I think that a lot of things that I talk about are way beyond the heads of a lot of people. I don't know if I necessarily have to create my own terminology. I think for some people that is kind of necessary to distinguish what I'm talking about as opposed to what other people are talking about. But surviving loneliness, surviving periods where you're on your own because you're truly discovering who you are, actually in the end, these are things that will bring us the right company, I would like to think. I don't believe that this world is completely unfair. I believe that despite all the archonic interference, that in the end, the light truly does prevail. Although it sounds really cliche when people say that, but I do believe that. We may disagree in how that plays out, myself and others, but the reality is conquering loneliness is my destiny. And it is the destiny of some of you to cross through to the other side, break on through to the other side from living in abject torture and pain for your isolation to actually discovering ultimate freedom and self-love and living through a energetic battlefield, if you will, living on this planet during this time, whether you're in the country or whether you're in the cities. We're seeing some of the same shit. It's not quite on par with walking on water, but then from another perspective, maybe it is on par with walking on water. But I'll tell you what, the key to our own spiritual soul's evolution on this planet, especially during this period of time, is being yourself, is allowing yourself to be lonely. And through that period, knowing how to heal yourself, how to heal your heart, how to heal your mind of the mind control and the trauma that you've been through in order to become a more powerful, higher voltage soul, as opposed to becoming another reactionary, angry soul who wants to take their loneliness out on the rest of the world instead of embracing their loneliness, instead of embracing the silence, instead of embracing the truth. So, that's how I handle the loneliness. In my own way, shape, or form, I embrace the truth. My YouTube channel and my TV show have been instrumental in that. My TV show launched in 2004, 2005, the weekly access show, which no longer airs live in Portland, but it was a big part of my life the last decade. That open sharing from the heart, not only reporting on things going on in the world, not only interviewing people, but just straight up going off and sharing a great deal of there could be a 4-hour documentary just made of Alex Ansary rants on the air in Portland, Oregon, between 2005 and 2011, coming back, more rants, 2014, 2015, leaving Portland for the last time. I mean, there's 4 hours there, maybe even 8 hours of just, and stuff being talked about before it happened, warning Portland about human trafficking before it got really, really big. And so, in a way, one could say, Alex, because of your outspoken nature and because you're not chasing money and you have just enough for yourself when you don't have a home, and you're not trying to cater your language and your behaviors to please any female, that's why you're alone and that's why you're single. But the greater reality is, by being who I am, by not compromising, and by speaking in favor of the feminine, and that I do see the sacred feminine and masculine suppressed in society, there's no guilt on my shoulders. Because the words that I'm using are not angry, reactionary words. I'm not wishing harm on women. I'm not wishing harm on the men of this country. In fact, I'm trying to help them understand how a lot of their thinking, their warlike nature and tendencies, their abilities to be easily led to the wrong partner in life because their instincts, in a way, have been rewired. Because in many ways, people are not tapped into their more divine, aware self. They're being led around by their primate, ooga booga self. And we could see the male and female ooga booga expression in today's urban American man and woman, encompassing all races, tapped into mass consciousness. They're in reactionary ooga booga mode. They're not in divine awareness. And some of the more aware human beings on this planet, past and present, and may very well be the case for the future. Some of the most aware individuals are some of the most lonely, some of the most undesirable of the society. And then you see the massive packs of human beings on the 4th of July, all the people just ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga, oh, fire, bombs, simulated explosions, made in China, made in China. It's an ongoing social zombie apocalypse where the zombies have out-procreated. They have out-populated conscious human beings. So, my last thought here is, Alex, How do you maintain your sanity amongst all this? It's how you look at things. This is Earth. We'll talk about this more. Earth politics, the real Earth politics, the real Earth pimpo politics. It's all about who you're sleeping with. It's all about the perception of your value based on the perception of your race. The real Earth politics, man, we're talking about some shit that is in the toilet right now. Instead of this becoming some galactic, conscious, global shift in awareness, a lot of the ugliness that has been there for some time more or less is rising to the surface. And we're becoming more conscious of it because it's time to change it. It's time to encourage others to change it. Not lie to each other. No, we've reached it. We're a princess now. We're a prince in the royal #, command, New Age, spiritual kingdom. We will not be left behind. Actually, if you look at things carefully, the very fact that we're here indicates we've done things to get sent here, or that we're still stuck here, because we're not actually ascending on a quantum level to another reality. A lot of women in their 50s and 60s that have been stuck in the New Age movement that really want to get off this planet need to take a closer look at the lies and deceptions that they have believed for so long. And younger women also need to take note of what type of spiritual entrapment is being set up for them. So, because I look at this world as a fallen world, not a super evolved world, I can see how super aware, conscious human beings have been attacked and harmed by others. I'm looking for where my RV may have been left. We'll walk down this way. See, there's good in this world, but assuming that it's always someone's karma if they experience any challenge or resistance to their goals, if they did something bad, people really need to readjust their perspective and understanding as to why things happen here in this realm. There's going to be opposition, and there's going to be strife for any individual that wants to rock the boat in any situation. They're an individual that wants to rock the boat in every single way, shape, or form and challenge mankind, womankind to evolve. If they choose to use examples of unevolved behavior, they're going to find themselves punished to a certain degree, perhaps not killed, but perhaps isolated and in exile energetically. And this describes my incarnation, my current incarnation. And I don't expect this to change in 5 years because I don't plan for my message to change. In fact, I want to get even more in depth as I am right now in the process of personal individual shift in consciousness solutions to unplugging from this matrix. And I can see behind me a whole sea of history of seers and mystics and people that have thought outside the box, that lived in abject isolation, that in some periods in time their isolation was necessary for their own safety to survive religious persecution. My ancestor went through the same thing in the 10th century. He had to survive fundamental Islamic persecution because he was a Sufi. And so when I look at his life and I look at my life, I have things that he didn't have then that can help aid me in sharing my truth with other people. And that would be the internet. That would be the RV. And so I'm grateful, is what I'm getting at. I can see how the universe is actually working in my favor, not against me. And so loneliness can be the very thing that can catapult us to a greater sense of self-awareness, self-discipline. When I'm out in, the forest and I'm on the internet significantly less. I'm watching very little multimedia. I'm actually spending most of my time watching documentaries about the Native American Indian Wars and the Utes and the Navajo and the Hopi, also known as the Anasazi. So I am filling my consciousness with new information and ideas related to the history of the actual backdrop that I walked through. What happened before I got here. It's also helping me understand why I was drawn here. And sometimes I wonder if I was here before. In another human form, another time on this planet, in the same geographic area. So it's through the pain that we can find the way home, and it's through the loneliness that we can hear our own thoughts, feel our own feelings. It's in the off-grid experience by yourself or camping by yourself that anything that goes wrong that day within your own emotional state is your responsibility to change. There's no one to blame. You don't even have to blame yourself. But it is owning through the cultivation of the self. It is only through working on oneself, in some cases in a state of loneliness and isolation, that some of us can really make that leap. So if you study history closely and you study the spiritual teachers of old age, you could see literally a parallel with men and women that have gone their own way in society, and they've lived lonely lives to a certain degree, but they've also lived very enriched lives, and they've crossed the hurdle, they've crossed the Rubicon, they've crossed the bridge, and they have shed their skin of what they once were, and they have walked into new shoes of what they are becoming. And with that, we'll bring this video to a close. Alex Answer here, coming to you from some of the most beautiful campsites I've ever seen in my life that I've been privileged to park at and hang around the last few weeks. More videos are coming. Donate at alexanswering.tv. Become a monthly supporter for $5 to $10 if you want. If you want to direct energy my way in that form, that'd be awesome. If not, keep watching and share the videos that you like and leave what doesn't apply. It is June 2nd, 2016.